Okay, today on the podcast, her fourth time on the podcast.
Do we give out jackets like Saturday Night Live? Like, should we have a jacket for her fifth appearance? Because she's going to be on again.
Yeah, we'll get you something
is
special.
Always yes to this question. Yes to jackets. Yes.
You are our most guest. How do you say that? The most
appeared. Most appeared?
No, that doesn't sound right. How do you say it, Keira? You know this. So you went to school.
The MVP of all guests. The guest you like the most, I think.
There it is. Yeah. Fourth time coming on the podcast. Keira D'Amato is here. She was on episode 11, 60, and most memorably 100.
Yeah. But you know what? She wasn't even a sponsored athlete the first time we talked to her.
No.
You were just...
Maybe not even the second time. Maybe the second time. I don't know.
You were just a young woman finding her way in the sport and trying to figure out what was happening. And then you're like, I can run.
I called to ask for advice on shoes and all things running. You too.
Yeah.
I love that.
We talked to you at a McDonald's parking lot.
We did?
Yeah, because remember we had to pull over?
No.
We were going someplace and I was like, we were talking, so I was just like, we'll just pull in here.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then, yeah.
Oh, but I wasn't in the McDonald's parking lot with you. Okay. I was
we
like,
cannot confirm or deny whether or not you were there.
So thank you for coming back on. We're not sure the exact number of this one. It's going to be 290 something, but we might pretend like it's the 300th and celebrate somehow.
Spartan style. Yes. Spartan style.
Well, I think it should be an eating challenge. Maybe we could get her like 300 hot wings or 300 Oreo cookies or something like that.
I'm going to vote for the Oreos before the hot wings, but we might want to I don't want to go for like M&Ms or something that seems a little more achievable.
300, that's fair.
Do you think you could finish that before the end of the podcast and give a proper interview?
Yeah, I think I could. But it's too bad we're just thinking about this now or else I would have already started. Yeah, I'd be like 33 M&Ms deep already.
For the next time, we'll add in that concept for sure. So when we chatted with you on the 100th episode, number one, you dressed up for us, which was amazing and the best thing ever. But we were talking about how you had just broken, I think, or recently, the women's American marathon record.
I thought we got her right after the 10 miler.
No, that was the second time.
Okay.
You guys have been capturing all the big moments with me.
I know.
This makes me think something big is happening for you.
Thomas likes to take credit for all of it, so we'll continue with that.
I'm a coach from a distance. I talk to you once, and then I let you do your thing.
But see, that's the secret of a good coach, someone that can coach without actually being there full time, right? So you're in those moments, you're instilling so much great information that I can just run with it. So
I'm like Obi-Wan Kenobi's ghost in Star Wars.
I can sign up for that. Yeah.
Okay. And so in the last summer, you did something just as epic and broke the women's half marathon record. Not even in America. It was in Australia. Talk to us about that day.
So that was really cool. That was my first time in Australia. And it's funny because the whole point of that trip wasn't to go after the American record. It was to practice traveling long distances because it was about just a month and a half before Budapest. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to get, all the traveling. I'll practice traveling really far, having messed up travel and just, rolling with it and just how to hydrate, how to eat, how to get on a new time zone. So it was like a big trial run for me for Budapest. And I think I don't know, the travel gods heard me saying that and messed everything up. So I left on a Sunday and there was a fire in the control tower in Reagan. So they shut down the whole East Coast of travel. So I couldn't get out until Monday. And then my flight was canceled, delayed. So I landed in LA and missed my next flight and had to spend the night in LA. I had to Uber to try to find a track the next morning because my flight wasn't until Tuesday night. Well, long story short, I landed on Thursday afternoon in Australia for a Saturday morning race. My body had no idea where I was, what time zone. But I was like, you know what? And I also didn't know my fitness because I was training through heat and humidity of Virginia. But I thought I was right around American records. So I was like, if I go for it, I might get it or I might not. But if I don't go for it, I definitely won't get it. So I was like, why don't I go for it? What's the worst that can happen? I don't get it. That was exactly the outcome if I don't go for it. So sorry, talking in circles there. But I decided, you know what, let's see what happens. And the race ended up having a awesome pacer for me. So he was really, really smooth. And I remember so vividly on the warm up, he's like, just so you know, I've only paced one other American for an American record attempt, and he got it. So I plan on going 2 for 2 today. And I was
All
like,
right, but can you do his accent?
Yeah, with his accent. I don't want to insult his accent because
I wanted to hear you. I wanted to hear Keira D'Amato's Australian accent.
Hey, mate.
I'm gonna take you in a little hot.
You guys have the exact same accent. Whenever I tell Thomas to do an Australian accent, he just says, "Good day, mate."
Yeah, that's and what I do is I say, "Good, I might." That's how you can make sure. Good, I might. Good, I might.
Good, I might.
Good, I might.
I like that.
So yeah, and and I didn't know what pace I was on really. Like my watch was beeping at miles and it was a little bit off, but there was only kilometer markers. So I kind of just trusted, all in, Benny St. Louis, and he got us. He got us there. So but it was funny because like 3K to go, there was an Australian man who like popped his head up onto the course and he's like, "You can take a crack at this record, but you got to go." But,
wait, so they knew what they're familiar with? Like, I wouldn't think that like if an Australian came to one of our races here, would we know the Australian record?
I think they were kind of like pumping it up. But it was funny because I saw my father-in-law who came with me also right before I saw that man. And he just like, when I went by, he was like, "Looking good." And I'm like, how that's not like, if you're going to travel all the way around the world, like you got to provide some helpful feedback. But
you're almost there.
He didn't know I was going for it. He didn't know I hit it. So afterwards, when I was so emotional, my father-in-law was like, "Are you okay?" But yes, that was a special day.
Okay, so you traveled with your father-in-law. Was there anyone else with you guys or just the two of you?
Just us two.
Okay, and were you not frazzled or like all of those travel like problems happening right before this race, even if you weren't, let's say, going for the American record? Like, does that not take you out of your like element or just like, I don't know, make you frustrated?
Well, it almost felt like a gift that I made it there, and it took off all pressure. Because it's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to run well because I've been in the airport for 4 or 5 days straight. So it like, in a way, it took all expectation off and gave me the freedom to go for it and not being afraid to fail because I probably should fail, So in a way, it kind of freed me from the outcome and just allowed me to go for it and see what happened. But also, like, I think there was something to traveling like to LA and then to like the first leg of Australia. Like, I slowly was acclimating to the time over that 5-day period too. And I don't know. And I actually think I was probably fitter than I thought I was training through like heat and humidity. And then the race was like just about 50 degrees. So it was like perfect weather. So I think my body was like, "Woohoo, this feels great." So yeah.
I was going to say, so some PRs are like effortless and some feel like a grind the whole time. What did that feel like?
Oh, a grind. It was 100% a grind. Like I went through.
But that's where you live.
Yeah, I kind of live in the grind. I think I'm okay with that. But I got through like 10K thinking this is really close to my 10K PR. And then I went through the 10 mile and it was like 30 seconds faster than I ran at that up dog, world best time I had. So I was like, man, I'm flying. And then it started getting a little dizzy. And I'm like, yeah, you should be dizzy. You've never run this fast before. And you've never run this fast having to run another 5K. So I kind of just like trusted that my body would hold, and it did. I also like warming up with the Australian pacer. I was like, just so you know, like I love tangents and I love water stops. So, and he's like, "You're going to take water during the half?" And I'm like, "Probably every single stop." So he was like helpful to help like get me to the water stops. But I took 2 gels during that race too.
Oh, wow.
Which afterwards,
that's good to know.
I was talking to like the winner for the males race who has the Australian record. And I mentioned something about that. He's like, "What, you took a gel?" I was like, "I took 2 gels and one at the start." And he's like, "This is blowing my mind. Like how, like that is, you actually are the only person that like took in more calories than you lost during that race." But
so let's just, for the record books, you've had the American 10 mile record, half, and the full. Has anybody else had all 3 of those?
That's
I
pretty
can't.
cool.
Yeah, like you're the Triple Crown. Like if that was the Belmont, Kentucky Derby, and the
Well,
Preakness.
you should get a Triple Crown for sure.
Okay, I was thinking like maybe a jacket also for this. These are two achievements today that I would
Satin
like
jacket.
to
Yep.
acknowledge. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like it. A dragon with 3 heads.
Okay. Mother of Dragons, I am so into this.
Right? A satin jacket with dragons on the back with 3 heads.
Thomas, you're speaking my language.
All right, I think we're gonna have to get this made. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to look for it. That'd be cool. And when you walk into the next meet, they could play the music. The smoke machines could go off. Come out in the jacket. I'm
Are
ready
there
for it.
rip-away jackets? Like jackets that can kind of just like pull. I guess that's kind of the point of a jacket of why. But like if there's something I could just like pull it off then and be my uniform.
Yeah, like the pants.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, it would just make sure it snaps
Yeah.
instead of the zipper.
And then
You
just
pop.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be an entrance.
All right. We're gonna make it happen.
Okay, I also in my fastest half took a gel at the start and 2 during the race, so I'm glad to know that you did that too.
Here we go.
How close were you to the American record, Meg?
No, I was out there 15 minutes longer than you, about, so probably need it.
Still
but,
crazy fast, but yeah, 15 minutes.
But the water is crazy to me. Like I feel like I can, like, just to save time, I won't stop at that many water stops. But you feel like you need that.
Yeah, I do. Like I'm just get really thirsty. And then also I get a little hangry and I find that water helps with the hangriness. So like and then I'm also feel like it's my reward. So I'm going water stop to water stop and it's to like just make it to the next water stop and you get your reward of water.
I like
so I don't
that.
know if that's how I break it up. I don't know if my body really needs it. I have like at Nike I did the testing and it turns out like I'm not like a sweater, but I'm a really efficient sweater, so you won't even see that I'm sweating. But I lose like a ton of water when I run, but my body like gets rid of it. So I'm not like a beady sweat person, but I don't know. I think I need a lot of water and I like it. And why not do something you're enjoying when it's hurting so much?
Yeah, not a sloppy sweater. We're gonna have to remember that.
Yeah.
So you had 2 gels on the course. You stopped at every water stop. What are you eating pre? Like I know you had a gel previous to the start, but like breakfast for a half marathon, is it real light or is it? What are you doing?
I pretty much eat the same thing every morning of my life. And so I know that it works, but I get like a big bowl of like the steel cut oatmeal and then put chia seeds and usually I put blueberries on it. Although I do not think I had blueberries that morning. And then sometimes I'll get like a scoop of peanut butter just to get a little protein in. And I find that like will settle okay. And then I remember they had instant coffee there. So it's like you get a cup of hot water and then you pour in something for the coffee. I've never had that before, but I remember having that morning. And then I'll drink like 1 glass of just pretty much electrolytes and then 1 like energy drink going to the start line. So for me, like when I wake up, it's like a race to the start line with how much I can fuel and like preload my body to get ready for that effort.
See, that's genius.
Yeah.
Like Feathers would give you like a lot of kudos for that alone.
Okay, so what did you do to celebrate that day?
What did I do?
You threw a shrimp on the Barbie.
I threw it on the Barbie. I think I recorded a podcast that day with the Australian guy. So the Australian guy has his own podcast, and that's where it came out that I took so many UCAN gels. But I think I probably was really tired and went to bed early. I know that's like really boring, but I don't think I really celebrated.
And then were your travels home less adventurous than on the way there?
Totally. It was like a month before, or maybe 3 weeks before the World Cup started. So in my head, I was like, well, it would be convenient if all my travel got canceled here so I could stay and watch the Women's World Cup. But it didn't. It was really seamless and smooth on the way home, unfortunately.
And then a few weeks later, I think it was is it Beach to Beacon? Is that the race?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, there's a video that I think kind of went viral of you at that, like right before the finish line, where it's the craziest sprint finish I've ever seen. That was
I've been
right?
compared to Terminator on that. Or not, was it Terminator or the other one? I don't know. Terminator.
It's probably Terminator where the guy does the
That's me. Well, it was funny because I ran the course beforehand and I saw that the last half mile is like really narrow. And then when you turn that last corner, you're like less than 100 meters from the finish. So you need to kick hard into that turn and then go. So I could see like third place. And then I went for it and turned it on. And someone, well, two funny things. One, someone got that in slow motion and posted it. And with the cheers in the background, it just sounded like a cow screaming for me. And then also just seeing my determination. But also, so the girl that I kicked for third place, I ran a long run with her and Edna Kippigat the next day. She was so sweet, so funny. We were chit-chatting. And then all of a sudden she said, "You are really funny when you run." I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "When you went by me, I couldn't stop laughing because you were like just really pumping your arms." And she's like, "It surprised me and I got scared and then I laughed and then I couldn't keep up." So I don't know if it was my speed that really outkicked her or just like the intensity of my kick that surprised her and then caught her off guard. But she was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You pump your arms really high. You were running really fast." And she goes, "But you fooled me once. You're not going to do that again on me." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to try again at some point." But she was hilarious. I really enjoyed running with her.
That I feel like you have to do that always now. Like in the last 100 yards of any race, it should be full sport mode.
When you first, I was gonna say when you first said beach to peak, and I was thinking beta breakers.
Oh,
and I was like, that seems more like a Keira D'Amato race with the costumes and the fun.
Have you done that?
I never have, but I've seen like the craziness there, and I do believe I'll fit in great for that. So that's definitely a bucket list race for me.
It's a very fun race. You'll probably miss all the fun stuff because you'll be too fast. But like
you could probably run it twice. You could probably race it and then go back and jog and have like the fun party.
Because it is fun. You see people in like Speedos and stuff, like, you know, with a costume on, and it's crazy. Right.
I can get behind crazy. That sounds good to me.
Okay, so the next big moment I think was probably Budapest. Do you feel like, how was the travel there? Obviously that day was very warm and maybe not exactly what you wanted, but talk to us about that whole experience.
Yeah, the travel was smooth. It was a really cool experience. I love the city. I like somewhere, I think around 14 miles, like something in my right hip flexor just pulled. And like my whole right leg, like I couldn't lift the right leg. And like, you're in such a weird spot. Cause I'm like, okay, do I need my right leg to keep running? Like, is there a way to do this without my right leg? Can I ditch my right leg somewhere? You know, like you throw off a hat and you go find it afterwards. But then I was like, what do I do? Like, I'm really struggling. I'm in a lot of pain. Like it doesn't feel like it's getting worse, but it was really difficult to run a loop like that. But then I just thought my kids were watching, you know, back at home, and they would be nervous if they didn't see like me pop up on the splits. And also I had like USA across my chest. So I'm like, I'm going to finish this. It's not going to be my best race ever, but it's going to be the best I can do that day. And I think I finished 17th. And, you know, I was really disappointed with that because my fitness, like judging off that half and how head training had been going, like I thought I was the fittest that I ever had. I really thought I was in, you know, similar, if not better shape when I broke the American record in the marathon. So I was excited for the opportunity. I thought that maybe I could be top 5 or possibly pull off a podium, but so that was a little disappointing. But afterwards, it was nice because my husband was there, and he's like, "Keira, like zoom out. Like 5 years ago, like you couldn't even really run 3 miles, and now you just finished 17th in the world and are bummed about it." So in a way, that's a pretty like, you know, you've come a long way. And then when I zoomed out, it was a really positive way to look at it, but it, you know, kind of kept me hungry for more going forward. But I think, and I still like, I'm not quite sure what happened. I think that one, like there's some sort of weakness that I need to be strengthening, which I'm working really hard on now. But then also I think that I had treatment before that maybe was a little too aggressive, and I think maybe strained something. So I was a little like more susceptible, except, you know what word I'm trying to.
I think you got it right.
Yeah.
Okay. To something like in the race when my legs were fatigued. But yeah, so not the race that I wanted, but the race that happened, I guess.
So there was no sign of issues from your hip before the race?
No, but my hips, like I felt like from the travel, I just felt like a little off. So I think that's why I went to get treatment anyways, was just to loosen up. And I think it was just maybe a little too aggressive if they're used to working on sprinters or jumpers that need a little bit like more like tough love massage. I think I'm more of like a frou-frou massage kind of person, I guess. But so I don't know if that was it or if it just exposed a weakness that I need to keep focusing on. But
And when you're in the middle of that race and this pain starts, and you're thinking, am I going to make this worse by finishing? Should I finish because I'm wearing USA across my chest? Like, how do you justify that decision in the moment when you're clearly uncomfortable and like in pain, and it's probably hard to even think straight?
I mean, you try to calm yourself down, right? So it's like, okay, don't panic. This isn't what you wanted, but let's think through this, And so you give yourself some time. You're like, I don't want to like impulsively make a decision. So, and I also was trying to see like how my mile splits were. And it's like, if they were really headed super in the wrong direction, like every mile getting slower and everything was getting worse, I probably would have pulled off. But since like I wasn't hitting the times that I wanted, but I wasn't slowing down that like each mile so much that I was like, okay, just stay under, like at that point, maybe I was like, stay at under 6 minutes. I forget what it was, but if I can just stay under that, and I was able to stay under that time. So you kind of just have to shift and accept where you are and make like new goals in the moment. And find some way to kind of get you forward, water stop to water stop again. And I am like every opportunity to wear USA, I am like beyond proud to be able to represent our country. And so, I wanted to do the best I could with, even with what I ended up having that day.
All right. So to bring it back to the normal runner, the positive splits in a marathon are a normal thing.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we should all quit when we start seeing?
Well, no, I think like if I went from 6 minutes to 7 minutes to 8 minutes, if I was adding minutes each time and like a really like with an extreme pain, like there are some times where you're like, you know what, this is the best I am running right now and it's slower and that's okay. But in this sort of race environment too, I was like, I also like, I want to continue running for years and years to come. And I knew with the Olympic trials, only about 6 months after that, like I didn't want to be seriously injured, but I was like, you know what, I signed up for this. So let's just, I don't know, let's represent in the way that I can.
We got to see, I saw a lot of Tony at the Olympic trials, but I didn't really see you much. So you were kind of keeping low profile during the trials. And
we were out drinking with Tony the night before.
Were we? Yeah. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Sorry, Tony, forgot about that one. But like you tend to shut down before a marathon and appreciate your like quiet time and reflective time. Typically, what does that mean for you before a race? Like what does that entail, like pre-race day?
Yeah, so I am like a yes person and I love being around people. I love being around the running community, but I also, it takes energy, I feel like, to be out there and talking to so many people. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try to be really selfish. Like I have a big goal trying to make an Olympic team. So stay in your zone, like keep your energy to yourself until afterwards. And so I don't know, I really, really locked down. Like I didn't really do any interviews. I wasn't putting myself out there like I normally would for about like a month before the race. And also I'm worried about overexposing myself and getting a sickness or something. So I really try to stay like in my, like I don't like 2 or 3 days before like a big marathon, I really don't even see my family because I feel like even just that energy and being a mom is, it just takes some out of you when you're just trying to focus and rest and recovery and like carb load and everything. It's just kind of nice to have some quiet and just focus on that. So kind of like 2 or 3 days before I kind of like lock down, I get into like game mode and just, do what I need to do and make sure I'm walking around and stretching and moving my body, but try to stay off my feet and not like overextend myself like I normally do 99% of the time.
All right. So can we talk about?
Wait, before we get to trials, because I know we want to talk about that. talk to me about recovery after Budapest and what you did to sort of get yourself back.
Yeah, recovery actually went really well. Like, I think I took a week or two off, and I was really like, I took it off because I was really worried that I did hurt something, and I wanted it, like, I was like, now's the time to heal. And I'd rather take a little bit more time off now than come back early and then be dealing with this. But taking 2 weeks off, when I started back, it was gone. The pain was gone. So
Oh,
I met
that's
with my
amazing.
PT, and I stayed with my PT like once or twice a week, and I was getting weekly, if not bi-weekly massages just to make sure everything was okay. And I talked to like my PT too about trying to strengthen that area so nothing would happen again. But I think it was kind of a combination of my hips getting out of line and straining, and maybe travel added to that. I'm not really sure. But I also just think I needed to be doing more strength work on those areas to make sure they wouldn't fail me at that point in the race. Yeah, and then we got into it. I, the tiger, just went for everything for February.
I love it. Okay, and one more thing before trials. You were on the lead vehicle in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me all about that and what that experience is
Are you
like.
jealous of that? Is that something
Yeah,
that
that's super cool.
Okay. It was incredible. And I saw the duel between Stefan Hassan and Ruth Chepngetich, and that was wild because Ruth takes out that race so hard. Like, I thought both years that I did that, I thought my stopwatch was broken because I was seeing mile splits in like the 450s early on.
Mm.
And I'm like, does she know this is a marathon? And then I'm like, yeah, she does. This is how she races. But it was really fun to watch every step and see like when they hydrate, to see their moves. And I think Ruth was, one, trying to go for the world record, it seemed like, but two, was really trying to take Stefan through it. And Stefan just like held on. And then eventually, I forget, maybe around like 18 or 20, then Stefan just went. I think she saw like a little bit of shakiness in Ruth. The pace started to slow just a tiny bit. And the pacers were a little bit off. So then Stefan just went. But it was so cool to see every step. But like afterwards, well, one, Stefan pushed through like I've never seen Stefan push through the last like 3 to 4 miles at the Chicago in 2023. It was truly amazing seeing her go for it. And but I've also never seen her in that much pain, which was wild.
Yeah.
But you finish and you're like, oh, I just saw like what was it, 2:11 women's marathon, like, or 2:13, I forget what the time was, but it's like it blows your mind. And like I always like try to build myself up, and I think I can race anyone in the world at any time. But after those two, I was like, I'm not on this level, and I never will be, and that's okay.
I mean, it was crazy. I remember watching it from home or not.
You were running,
but watching it afterwards, and the time is just like, it's very unfathomable for like a normal person like us. But then for you to even say that as someone who's had the American record, like it's crazy the times that we're seeing now.
It's wild. And I love seeing it. And I love that there's a number of women like pushing that like bar forward. And to see like 2 women at America or at world record pace is just wild. Like, it's wild to think there are 2 women capable of breaking the world record right now. I think just shows the level of women like endurance running right now. It's really cool to watch and be part of.
And so when you're on the lead vehicle, obviously you're only seeing the front runner. So like you don't know what's happening with the Americans or anyone else back there.
Correct.
Or did you get updates?
I do. Like, I was listening to the broadcast too, so I could hear what was going on. And then they give you a heads up, like, okay, they're coming to you in just a little bit. But the course, at some points you go under bridges. So it was a little spotty. So even at some points, like, I couldn't hear really what was going on. But yeah, but it was a really fun experience. I had a lot of fun being on the little D'Amato on D'Amato was really
I like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I love it. It was always a dream of mine to ride in a sidecar, and that kind of was a sidecar. So check.
Done it.
And then Emily taking the American record. I mean, that has to be like lovely, bittersweet. Like, it's got to be fun to see it happen, but also a little heartbreaking because, you know, that was yours. But what, you tell me, how did that feel?
Well, if the motorcycle had been there, would have you like thrown some stuff out in front of her?
No, I was rooting for her. I really will. Like, it's so weird because like I feel like with that record, the chase wasn't breaking it, and it really like for me, I take some pride in pushing that bar forward, but I also hope that I opened a lot of the American women's eyes on what we all can do. Because I don't think Emily or Emma or Betsy or Sarah, I don't think any of them think I'm better than them. So I think they just thought, if Keira can do that, I can do that too. And for whatever reason, that makes me feel like really proud that I can show what we all can do. But seeing Emily do that too, I felt like almost just like proud mom. Like, I know what I went through in that race and I struggled. I went to some dark spots and I had to work through it. And unless Emily was just had the smooth sailing race, like I have a feeling she struggled through similar things and had to work through it and fought through it in a way that I did. So I felt very connected to her and very proud and also just emotional because like I know how emotional I was. Like I never thought I was going to run again after breaking the American record in Houston. Like that's what my body went through that I was like, okay, this is it. I'm never running again. But I don't know. So to cheer for her doing that. And Emily is just such a great person too. So couldn't have happened.
Is there like a little sorority for like Joan Benoit, Dina Castor, yourself, Emily? Like, is there like a
group text?
Yeah. Do you guys have your own jacket to stick with the theme?
There's a group text. Yeah.
All right.
Really
is it really?
Yeah, there is. It's awesome.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Is it called American Record Holders or what?
No, I don't think we've named it yet, but I think I should. I should go in there and change it. Maybe put like a crown or something as the emoji.
How much would I have to pay to get a transcript?
Well, we'll work it out afterwards. I accept Bitcoin. I do accept Bitcoin.
I do have Bitcoin, so we're good. I can make you Lagoon Pillow rich.
I will accept that transfer too. Yeah.
Okay. First, get Dina to say something mean, and then
that won't happen. Dina is positive and encouraging and just incredible person. I don't think I've ever heard her say anything mean, and I don't think you ever will either.
We haven't yet.
Yeah, we've tried. She's just, and like you just said, she's one of those people where like just being around her, like her energy is so positive. And if you have anything to say or a worry or something, she'll find a reason to tell you why it's the best thing in the whole world and it's happening for a reason. And like, yeah,
Dina's been great. I've called her a couple times and asked for just advice, like with running and life and stuff. And every time she's been so generous with her time and for her advice. It's like she listened and was just so. Now, Joni, she is a trash talker. I love that about Joni, man. Joni and I I love Joni's my girl. She will put you in place, and I'm just behind and like eating popcorn, watching it all go down.
We actually got to drive around with Joni one time when she was at a race that we were helping with, and so we got to kind of chauffeur her, and we got the unfiltered, straightforward, and you're just like, oh wow. There's no, it's right out there.
Paired with someone who is so supportive and has like broken so many barriers and like wants everyone to move forward. So she's like the biggest cheerleader for all of women's running. So I think when you have that pair of like the biggest cheerleader plus like a competitor, she is so much fun to be around.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can finally talk about the trials.
All right. So the trials is a thing that I struggled with because we know at this point we've talked to a lot of the women that were running, and it's very tough for us because we're like we have some favorites, and you're like, how important how important is this to someone's career, and how important what happens afterwards if you don't make the team? And I think we were talking. We met at the bar that night with Lindsay Flanagan, and we got the raw feeling from her. It wasn't something we recorded. We were just having cocktails. She happened to be in the same hotel as us, and we got and talked about it. And then we talked to her a few weeks later, and it was kind of a little bit different situation. But my assumption was that this was the Holy Grail, and that it comes around every 4 years, and that this was a race that would maybe be a line in the sand for some people's careers. Am I putting too much importance on it? And there's plenty of other events like worlds and these different
The majors.
majors that you feel like you can, like, if you don't have a great day at trials, there's still those days? Or is it that weighty that it's like, that's my shot at going to the Olympics, that's my shot at being an Olympian for the marathon distance?
So I think it's a little bit of both. And I think for people that are not Olympians, it is our holy grail. And it's like everything we've ever wanted. It's like a status or whatever. And, when someone finds out you're an elite runner or, they ask, have you been to the Olympics? Are you Olympian? So it's definitely a way to define. But like right after the race, I had a long talk with Alafine and she was like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, I made it and then no one cared afterwards. And she's like, go have a good race at a world major or, or a world championships. And that will hold the same amount of weight in the endurance community. But I think for just that experience of experiencing the Olympics and being part of like Team USA on that year, I think it holds a lot of weight for all athletes. But luckily, I think in marathoning, we have 6 world majors a year plus a world championship, on every other year. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to get that exposure and to, compete on a world stage. And so I think it's kind of like yes and no, but it's, I don't know, becoming an Olympian, I have no idea what that feels like, but it's something that I've wished for and I've worked for and I've just dreamed about for so long. I think even before I knew I was going to be a runner, I was dreaming of the Olympics. So I think that's why it's kind of ingrained in all of us. And I think as just Americans too, more people are watching the Olympics than they are watching, because you get people that are non-runners watching the Olympics and, rooting for track and field and marathon. And where at the world majors, it's, kind of a niche crew of just, I wouldn't say niche, but it's mainly the people running or know people
Fans.
running.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit different, but I don't know. I don't think it will, I think it could make a lot of careers, but I don't think it's gonna break in a way like a lot of careers too. And it is nice to have like finish and not make the team and then be like, okay, what's next? What am I looking
Yeah.
forward towards now? So there's,
Were you able, for you, were you able to quickly just shake it off and be like, it's just another race? Okay.
So usually I can bet, like I am not afraid to fail. I will go out and put it on there and I've hit some goals and I've fallen short. And I feel like usually 24, 48 hours, I shake it and I'm on to the next thing. And I think that's a real big strength of mine is I can get over it and focus and readjust and like, don't let it define me. But this one really, really, really stung. And it took me
Yeah.
like, I think a few weeks to get kind of out of that funk. And someone that I called a lot, well, I called Molly Seidel and she was great. She was so nice and supportive. But I texted Sarah Hall like almost every day. And I
Oh,
think she
wow.
handled it better than I did. But we just had this dream. And I think as mothers and people kind of knowing like this may be our last opportunity to make a team. I think we were in a similar boat, but I think she handled it a lot better. So she was like encouraging me. And I think I was kind of, I don't know if I was just trying to see like if my feelings were normal, like calibrating against her and just, so I think it was really helpful to have Sarah there going through something very similar.
Yeah, Sarah was one of the ones that I thought of when we watched the trials. Obviously we were watching the ASICS team and people coming in and you're seeing the lineup and, I know that she's worked so hard for so long and, this is, you're in a similar boat, but I feel like this has been a build for a long time. So I was like, okay, is this, what does this mean to her as far as the end? And not knowing that you texted with her, you probably know better, obviously.
I think when you look at Sarah's career, she has like surpassed, she has surpassed becoming an Olympian in a way. For
Yeah.
so long, she's been at high school and at college, and then for the past, X number of years, she has been at the top of the game. And I don't think anyone has been able to hold that intensity level and highness across so many different events too. All the way from the steeplechase in the 1500 all the way up to a marathon. I don't think anyone's done it like Sarah Hall has. And so I think in a way, just like all of her accomplishments, like, just even top becoming an Olympian, but that would have been really special, I'm sure. I mean, I would have
Yeah.
loved to be on the same team with her.
Well, we ran the 8-mile loop that you guys had for the trials. And honestly, we saw the Paris course, and the Paris course looked horrible. But the loop, you're exposed. It was hot. There was, I don't think a lick of shade on that entire course. And it's just on a road, flat. It wasn't scenic. It was like, I would assume that coming through where the fans were kind of spectating in that loop area was probably the most exciting part of the race. We talked to Clayton about his strategy with cooling and fueling. That race seemed like a challenge, and I guess it's an equalizer because it's a challenge for everyone. But what was your take on running a 3-loop course like that, totally exposed in mid 70s to high 70s temps?
Going into it, I was excited. I like looped courses. I like breaking up the race in that way. And I think I have, I don't know, like a little bit of that track runner in me too, where I like the loops. I like how flat it was. I mean, there was little inclines, but not really. And I did a lot of my work on like looped courses. So I was used to kind of the monotony of that. And then the heat, I felt like was going to be similar to Virginia, the heat and humidity. But I was wrong about that. But I loved the course. I thought it was a very fair course. And I mean, it probably would have made sense to make a course that mirrored Paris a little bit better. But with the conditions, being so hot, I think it created a team of really tough runners anyway. So I think they accomplished that.
So when you went into that race, how were you feeling in general about like your fitness and the race itself? Like, were you feeling confident?
I was, yeah. I was the fittest I'd ever been. Workouts were going great. I was seeing times that I had never hit before. It was really consistent. Nothing was bothering me. But the thing that I think I struggled with a little bit is like, I wanted it so bad, I couldn't turn it off. And I've never experienced that in my second round. I feel like in my first round of running, that was like a common theme of mine, is just wanting the outcome so bad that it kind of dictates a little bit more. And I think I got into that with the Olympic trials. And at one point I actually texted Joni too. And I was like, Joni, like, I've never wanted a goal more than I've wanted to make this Olympic team. But like, I run best when I don't care. When I go in and just think, it will be what it will be. Like, how do I get back to that with something that I care so much about? And so she gave me some advice and everything, and then told me to go watch Chariots of Fire and read Boys on the Boat and everything. It was great, and some very, very thoughtful advice. And but I couldn't quite detach in the way that I was. But I don't know. I kind of just chalked that up. I'm like, well, I'm like just really like, I'm going to bed super early. I'm doing everything I need to do. Usually I'm a little bit more lax with everything. Like I'm like a 95% kind of person, which I feel like really helps with these really obsessive sports. But I went to like 100, which I was hoping that would help me get over. But I think for me, it ended up just being the heat. And then probably the race strategy was not the one that I should have done in that kind of condition. My former coach connected with Emily Sisson's coach, and we were going to work together to try to drop everyone. So to take it out hard, making an honest race, we thought that we were faster and more fit than everyone. So we could break it up and then get into a comfortable routine, just the two of us. So we took it out. I took it out hard, and we switched every 2 miles. And then at some point she got a cramp, so she didn't take the lead back. And then I thought, okay, every woman for herself. And at that point I was kind of relieved because it was hot. So I'm like, why am I pushing this and pulling this through? Like, why don't I just sit back and relax? So I wonder if I had taken a more conservative approach and just kind of tucked on the back and let other people do the work, how that race would have played out. But I also just don't think my body was prepared for that heat. And I think I probably should have gone, 4 or 6 weeks before to Florida and just lived there and gotten like acclimated a little bit more to the heat. Because I had gotten a sauna and I was doing sauna work, but it did not translate in the race.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine, you know how it is on the East Coast. Now you're in Utah, but we can have a week of that cool fall weather and then go right back into swamp.
It's going to be 100 here today.
Yeah,
Like,
and I ran this morning. My heart was beating out of my chest, and I'm like, it was hot a week ago. I'm already unclimatized or whatever you want to call it. But speaking of which, you finished up the Olympic trials, and
what got you out of the? Because I can't imagine like you said, like you've never wanted something more, and it didn't all come together on the day, which in itself I think is like the trials is heartbreaking no matter what, because
not if you come in first.
There's only 3 people going, but like there's so many talented women on that field that if it just happened to be the day, like the fact that it's one day, one race that makes this huge decision for 4 years is just, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. But how did you eventually, come to a place that you were like, okay, this happened, let's move on to the next thing?
Yeah, well, one, I think that's sport. I think that's what we all love so much about sport is you do get that one chance under pressure and you hope it all clicks. In every sport you have those games, you have those matches. And I think that's what we're all chasing in a way. So, I accept kind of the outcome of that. But I think like time from it and then just realizing I needed to make a change. And so just focusing on what can I do differently and try a different approach. And I felt like I had tried a pretty similar approach for, the 5 years that I was really serious about running. So that's what I think really helped change my perspective is trying something new, shaking it up and doing something a little different. So hopefully I can, overcome those weaknesses in the future.
So you changed coaches, you changed location, still Nike, but talk to us about how all of that came, like, how did you make those decisions?
Yeah, so I kind of spent the spring like just trying to figure out like where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And I decided, it was time maybe to try altitude and see how my body reacts. And I don't think there was ever really an appropriate time because I don't know, I felt like there was something always on the horizon, because world champs the last 2 years plus the Olympic trials. So I didn't want to change anything in the last like 3 years, but I've always been a little curious what. So in a way, like passing the Olympics, just kind of gave me the freedom again to be like, okay, we can start all over. And like, there's nothing really on the horizon, like a world championships or Olympics that I'm aiming for. So it's okay to try something new. And I think that's been really exciting. And just watching how Ed Eyestone's team, the marathoners, the track runners, I love seeing how much Clayton and Connor race. I feel like they're on a similar racing schedule to me. So I felt like that would be a smooth transition that I think Ed like sees the joy and the positive in racing, especially when you're not, in top fitness too. And then plus their success, like I've always really admired them and they're all like such great, humble, hardworking people. So I felt like I could fit in well. So, and I had met Ed at World Championships in Budapest and then the last 2 years on the Chicago broadcast team. So I just, kind of reached out to him and just thought if he'd be open to it. And he's like, yep, just, tell me when. I was like, let's just go through the track season and then just see where I am. But I just couldn't stay healthy in track. Like I felt like every other week or every month I was injuring something, taking a few weeks, like from March to June, I had so many injuries that I'm like, this just should not, like I shouldn't have all these issues. So I think after the trials and it was like, okay, it's time to change. And so, yeah.
Talk about a different approach though. Clayton came to an event like the day before, was that day or 2 days before the men's marathon? And ASICS was like, hey, give him some space. We don't want him getting sick. Meanwhile, he's sitting there eating food off the table that's like right next to us, it's like talking to us like real close. And I was just like, okay, I guess he didn't get the memo.
Well, I think that's a chillness, right? It's like when you've done your homework and you're ready to take the test, it's kind of like bring it, and I think he's known like the last couple of years that he's been doing the homework and his fitness. So the relaxedness is definitely a good sign. So
yeah, I was thinking more that someone could give him some sort of bug.
Right.
But,
and I think that's like, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, like when it comes like close to racing. So I definitely get a little nervous with that.
So how have you been adjusting to altitude and have you been able to test like the effects of it yet?
So it was a big big shock to the system. So like the first day I get there, Ed's like, okay, practice with the guys at this time. So like I go and he's like, okay, yeah, you have a workout. And I'm like, I haven't really run in a week since the trials, but let's do this. And just like every mile got slower. It was terrible. Like, and I like my lungs were just like tight. Like I felt like I was an indoor track just with that like indoor track cough. Like, and afterwards he's like, okay. I was like, I promise this is more of a fluke. I will get there, but just give me time. But I mean, it took me about a month to start, I feel like, feeling better. Like the first month was real rocky getting into it. And Ed gave me like, he gave me some runway to like ease into it, which I really appreciate. But it's been really fun. It's different training for sure. And it feels like a lot of the stuff I was missing, a lot of like the strength and endurance stuff, which I'm really excited about. My mileage has gone up, which I feel really strong about and really fit. I've been healthy. I've had like no hot spots, no issues, and working with a strength coach. So I'm really excited how all this is going, but I also have like no idea what it means. So like, because all my workouts at altitude, it's like, I don't know what that translates to. I've never done this before. So I'll be running the New Haven 20K championships on Monday. So, I mean, it's going to be kind of like warm and humid. So I don't know if that's really going to be a good indicator, but this will be my first time like coming down from altitude and seeing the effects. So, I mean, this is my first time at altitude. So it'll be my first time coming down. So I am so excited.
So is Utah what type, how long is Utah? Is this like a permanent or is this just while I'm training?
So originally we came out thinking I would be here through Chicago. And so the family came out with me this summer and they were going to head back to Richmond at the end of the summer and start school. And like within a week, my kids were out here and they're like, we love it. We don't want to leave. And I'm like, well, that's good for me because I really didn't want to be without you either. And then my husband comes out and he's like, I'm never, ever leaving. And I'm like, well, maybe don't say that. Like we've been here like 2 days. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, the mountains are just calling to me. This is where I belong. I belong in the mountains as a mountain man. But so we'll see. But we've committed to a school year here. So the kids are going to school up in Park City. So we'll go through the school year. We'll experience all the seasons, and then I'll have a couple chances to get some racing and just see how my body is acclimating to all this and responding. So we're going to give it at least a year and see. But in my head, I think probably at least minimum 2 years we'll probably be out here.
All right.
So you're away because in Virginia, that's where your family is?
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to convince all of them to come out or
Ski
what's the
vacations.
plan there?
I don't think they're going to all come out, but I'm hoping people will come out for vacations. Anthony's parents have been awesome. Like his mom has come out 3 times already to help us because, I'm busy and I travel a lot and my husband travels a lot with the Guard and his Microsoft job too. So it's nice to have some help. So she's coming out again this weekend and then my mom will come out the week after. So right now we're just been begging for a lot of help, but I mean, it's so pretty out here and the weather's great and like there's no humidity. Like normally my hair would be about like 5 times this puffy and it's like flat. It's incredible.
Meg, are we moving to Utah?
Yeah, I don't know. So we always like talk about how humidity is the poor man's altitude, but they're not the same, right? It's not an equalizer, is it?
They're totally different working through. Like 100% it's different working through, but I do think that training through humidity like was similar in restricting the oxygen and training through like more effort based than altitude. So we'll see, but I still like they're very, very different sensations, but I think they can get to the same point. But I wonder like how I would be in a humid race right now because I haven't been training through humidity, but so I don't know. I guess we'll see.
You'll find out Monday.
It sounds like you're going to find out.
If you want it, we have a bedroom. You guys can come out and stay with us and see.
I have to tell you, so we've done some high altitude stuff. I feel in my heart they're 2 different things. I do believe that heat and humidity puts a stress on your body that when you get to a nice, cool, non-humid race, your body feels relieved. And I think that it's a different kind of stress that the altitude puts on your body. I don't know that they translate though, because I've been in the middle of the summer working in the heat and humidity and then gone to altitude, and altitude still kicks my ass.
Yeah.
And, I've gone down from altitude and come back to humidity. And I'm
Yeah, but
like,
you've never, don't they say it takes like 3 weeks to a month to acclimate for it to like
They
make you
say
feel better?
yeah, about 3 to 4 weeks for your body to start acclimating and getting the
Okay.
benefits. So we'll see. So I
right.
think you guys need to do, what marathon are you guys doing? I know you're going to say
Berlin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So it may not
We
be.
don't have time for that.
Yeah, this may not be the best time for Berlin, but what have you figured out what after that?
London.
Okay.
Well, Meg's doing New York.
Well, I'm just fun running that. Yeah.
We'll be at Chicago.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're cheering. We're going to get to
Yes.
cheer for you. It's going to be amazing.
If you can get me on the back of that motorcycle, I will forever cheer for you.
I think they brought Dina back for that. So
Well, Dina will let me
Yeah.
sit on her lap. That's fine.
Yeah.
She's sturdy.
Yeah, she is.
So you're probably kind of used to it from the humidity where you have to adjust paces, but I know at altitude, like you very much have to adjust paces. Does that like mentally mess with you? Like, you're getting fitter, but maybe it's not the numbers you're used to seeing.
Yeah, it does a little bit. Like what I'm trying to do, and this is easier said than done, is just get fit enough that I'm running the times that I want to run, and then that be the equalizer. So then I come down. So if I can run like marathon pace in these workouts, and then I come down to sea level, hopefully marathon pace is going to feel really easy. And I think that's also kind of Ed's philosophy too, is that he wants you running those paces that you would at sea level. So it's not like your body's in a whole new gait or a whole new pace, or those like that stride feels awkward. But you take like a little more recovery so you can like handle those paces up here. But Ed, I love his training too, because he doesn't shy away from like really going for it with the paces, which is similar to what I was doing before. So I'm doing stuff, at marathon, I'm doing stuff faster than marathon, and I'm also doing a lot slower than marathon, which I've never really done before, which I think was kind of something that I was missing. But so in my head, I'm not trying to do the calculation, unless it's a bad workout, and then I'll be like, okay, but if I take like 5 seconds off each mile, then it's actually a really, really good one. So it's like I'm trying to like play some games with myself, but I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask with any of this stuff because I'm so new to it. But
So wait, you've never done slower than marathon pace? Because that's my whole training.
Never did slower than, well, like in workouts, I should say.
Yeah.
Like easy runs, obviously, but I wasn't doing the kind of like, we have some workouts here where we'll run like 20 seconds slower than marathon and then come back for some like fast, like fatigue miles. And that has been really fun, like wearing out your body at a pace that's not really that taxing, but it is when you go do the miles.
Stacking it.
And then there's some tempos that kind of serve a different purpose. And it's mainly just like trying to feel relaxed, which I don't know if I ever really learned how to run relaxed when you're doing everything pretty much at or faster than race pace. You really feel like you're grinding all the time. So it's going to be exciting. Like I think I've been exposed to a lot of different things, and we'll see what happens.
What's awesome about that is that you're pretty transparent on Strava. So if people really want to see what you're doing and how you're working on stuff, it's really easy to just check into Strava and see what you're up to.
And get jokes.
Yeah, and the jokes. Yeah, I asked Coach Eystone about that. I'm like, how do you feel about jokes? No. How do you feel about, Strava? And he's like, it tells part of the story, because you don't really know the weather or so much of what you were like fighting through or what you were doing or the load. So it really tells like a little snippet. But he's like pretty transparent with all that too. So I appreciate he lets me keep that going, because I have a lot of fun with that. I've had some good ones lately, but I've also had a lot of bad jokes lately.
They even out. Yeah.
When you're asking a coach that question, are you more or less asking them like, hey, do you care if I show how you work more than if you care about people seeing how you work?
I never care if people see what I'm doing, because like, I don't know. One, if it can inspire people and give people ideas for workouts or how to train, or how conservative I take easy days. If they can learn from what I'm doing, I am open book to share, and I would love everyone to benefit for that. But also, like, it doesn't share the whole story of my fitness, because you don't know what I'm doing outside with cross training or weight training or any of those other pieces of the puzzle, and if I'm feeling healthy, if I'm sleeping enough, if like, the whole equation. But yeah, I want to be, careful because it's his workouts, I'm not making him up. So it's easy for me to share what I'm doing. But when he's like the thought guy, I want to make sure that he was okay with it. And he's an open book too. And I appreciate that about him.
You said your mileage is getting up and it's higher. Is this higher like than you've ever trained or just in this cycle?
It's higher than I've trained since 2021. So
Okay.
it's the highest I've been in the last 3 years. I'm taking a day off a week, which he was like, you don't have to. I was like, no. That sounds like an awesome idea. And Sunday is like the day of rest, which I have been loving because you get up, I get to spend those morning with the kids. I'm not rushing out the door. Like I have so enjoyed having Sunday as like a family day. But then I also like my body can recover from everything that it's gone through in the last week. So it's been really nice, but I think, considering I also have a day off, it's definitely my highest volume that I've done in, probably over 3 years.
That's awesome. Are you sharing any goals specific to Chicago?
Yeah, I'm there to kick some ass and take some names. So no, I don't. So I think over the next month, seeing how racing goes, we'll see kind of what kind of fitness. I think for us, we're thinking let's just see how fit I can get, and then we'll kind of determine that pace when we get a little closer. But I mean, if I'm like I've said this once and I'll say it again, if I'm anywhere within striking distance of an American record, like 100%, I will always go for it. So if I think I'm anywhere close, I'll go for it. Training's been going well, and knock on wood, I've been healthy. So I feel like maybe I could get there, and just with like
I think there's one other thing that is really in your favor. And it's that the American field right now is stacked. Like it's such a great, for a spectator of the sport, like I'm there to cheer this year. I couldn't ask for a better lineup of women's distance running. You have everybody there, and it's almost like we were just got through the Olympics, and that was cool. But, we were really rooting for 3 people. 2 when we had a dropout, but to be able to go to Chicago and like see our stars, like this is our, like if this was Lollapalooza or one of those band tours where all your favorite bands are playing at the same event, the Chicago seems to be, and I think New York's going to follow it up, but Chicago seems to be like the real powerhouse this year.
It and kind of like I was saying with Savon and Ruth, to see like 2 women capable of a world record pace was blowing my mind. But it like Chicago, there could be 4 or 5 women that could be like knocking on that door. Could you imagine a pack of 4 or 5 women going for the American record? Like this. How could one of us not do it?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's so cool.
Between you, Emma Bates, Sisson, who else was there? Mega, is Lindsay
Sanya.
going? Yeah.
Who?
Betsy, Sanya, and Sarah Hall.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, it's just sick. We're psyched.
Okay, I realize we're over the hour here, so we don't want to keep you any longer, but this was super fun. I'm glad we got to catch up finally. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I don't know how that happened. We can't let that happen again. We got to have you back on.
We have seen her in that time.
Yeah.
Briefly in Boston, we got a quick hug.
And I've listened to you guys, so I feel like I'm like in the know with what. But also that jacket, I want to circle back.
All right,
so
Triple Dragon.
No, like if I need to come on next week to get to the 5-timers to earn, like, are we thinking like glitter, sparkly leather, like sports jacket?
I was thinking no more like a satin jacket with embroidery,
like T-birds,
and the like almost that, but on the back. What's your favorite color?
Yellow. It's kind of a weird one.
Okay, so yellow satin jacket, red dragon maybe. 3 heads.
Yeah. Okay.
I see it.
I just want to make sure.
And I'll have maybe a little tiny Tony as a knight, going after it.
He needs to be on there somewhere, and he will thank you for being probably like without his shirt off and all his muscles rippling too. If that's possible.
What if it was more like a symbolism, like you're the 3-headed dragon, and then you have the tiger, Tony the Tiger, on your back, like clawing into you.
I was gonna say, can he be on my back? I'm glad we're like teaming up and not fighting. We're like Team D'Amato coming at you, tiger dragon style.
3-headed dragon, dropping tiger bombs.
Okay.
I love it.
This is awesome. And I'm like really excited about it. So please don't burst this bubble.
All right. I saw on Instagram there's a company that's making really nice satin jackets with embroidery. I'm going to see if I can get a custom
one. You better
one.
make it happen now.
I should walk to the start line of Chicago in like a jacket like that, like Noah Lyle style.
You're telling me I gotta get to work. Actually, yeah, that's what we need is like a tunnel that you can walk through with the smoke and the thing. And I'm sure that you could get some like Cactus Jack Nikes or something like that and like really finish it off, some baggy jeans. And then, the whole thing tears off.
And it's just a race kit under?
Just a race kit.
Buns and a crop top. That's it.
Wait, are we going buns? Or are we going, what are we wearing for Chicago?
I usually wear shorts, but like I really, like this year, my goal has been to do something different. So I either want to go like longer shorts or like the
So
briefs.
Courtney DeWalter long?
Yes. Well, maybe, but like tighter than Courtney.
Okay.
But like, either longer. Like I just feel like I need a little change with that. But then I go back to tried and true. You know, I kind of stick with what I know. But maybe I'll go buns. Yeah,
I've never seen you look bad. So, that's...
you look good in everything. So whatever you decide.
Do you know what the Nike kit looks like for Chicago?
No. I don't even know. When do they confirm they're doing a kit again?
I would guess they do. Don't they normally? Like, unless they're going to just give you that Paris like leopard print.
They did last year. And I'm so hoping they do it again. Like Nike shows up, man. Nike knows how to put on a show and show up. So I'm hoping they do.
Me too. I'm sure they'll be great.
All right. In the meantime, I'll be looking into satin jackets.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that one.
Yeah, and Meg, good luck in Berlin. What's the goal?
Thank you.
I'm so curious now.
I mean, I'm like you, just trying to get as fit as I can.
You know what your goal is. You're not going to tell her?
Under 245, my PR would be a goal. So that's it.
I thought you were going to say that. Dude, you've been racing great too. You've been doing awesome.
Thank you.
Big girlfriend.
Trying,
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you in Chicago. We'll cheer for you until then and then on the course. And thank you again for coming on. Super fun.
I don't know if you listened to our Emma Bates interview after Chicago last year.
Not yet.
Okay.
There were drinks involved.
A lot of drinking.
Yeah.
A lot of drinking.
Good time.
But we did it right after the marathon. Well, an hour or so after. But
that sounds awesome.
So if you have plenty of energy and you want to come on, we'll pour you some booze.
If there's that 5-timer jacket there, count me in. That's all I got to say about
That's the trick.
That's the trick. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
All right.
All right.
I'm starting.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks.
Keira.
Bye, guys.